Hey Flosstube, I'm Michelle and this is my romantic tangle. And it is Friday, May 20-something. It'll be Saturday morning probably by the time this gets uploaded. I have had a great week for stitching. I'm still working on Lovebirds, and I commented last time about how ridiculously stiff this thrifted Aida is. I mean, it is just... I usually don't mind stiff fabric, but I had put this on a 6-inch Q-snap because all of my bigger Q-snaps have projects on them, and I keep scratching my wrists on the edge of the fabric. It is driving me batty, but it's a small project, and I'm telling myself at this point that I will finish it quickly enough that I don't need to wash it. If I have any more fabric in my stash that is like this, like I said, it's from the thrift store. I'm not sure entirely what it is, other than 14 count Aida. I'll wash it before I use it because this is exciting stuff. I like the color. It's contrasting very well with my 3 strands of white knockoff embroidery floss, but it's the stiffest stuff ever. I told you last time that I wanted to pull out Beach Babies and start stitching on it again. And I did, and I started, and I could not stop. I should have taken a before picture because this little girl in the green swimsuit with the bucket hat, she did not exist 2 weeks ago. Everything from here over is new. And when I got her finished, I really wanted to start stitching the third little girl, but I convinced myself that I really needed to fill in some of this background, because if I get all the little girls done and leave the background for last, I'm never going to do the background. I know myself too well for that. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have it filled in enough that I can start the back stitching, and I really do think the back stitching is going to make this one pop. And I think it will be something, because it's outlining the little girls and their buckets and the writing on the sign, so I think it's going to be the straightforward type of back stitching that's not too hard to do. Here is what I'm aiming for, and the interesting thing about this one is the right hand side, there's a lot of empty fabric here. The further to the left I go, the denser it is going to be. So maybe when I was choosing what corner to start in, maybe I should have started over here with the dense background so that I was working my way towards the easy part. I don't know. I am having fun. If I put this aside again without putting another stitch in it, I won't feel bad because I got a whole extra little girl. And I am liking the tackling these projects with, I will just work on one element and try to do that, instead of looking at the whole project and everything that I still have to finish. Because if I look at everything I still have to finish, it's daunting. And more stitching on the waterfall. You knew that was coming. I've got it off the snaps. You can see how big it is going to be. I love it. This is the perfect, just one more strand of fabric, of floss, just one more little line of water down the edge, and oh, then do the one next to that and the one next to that. It is fun. It's challenging, but not so challenging it makes me nuts. And I'm going to be working on this for a very long time, but I am totally okay with that. And that is it for my stitching. The next couple of weeks, the family schedule is going to be busy, busy, busy. I don't know if I will, I don't know what kind of stitching time I will have. I won't have my usual blocks of time. So what I do when I know, when I can't stitch, or when I'm in the room with the whole family, and it's a good opportunity to work on a project, knitting works really well for that. So I sat down yesterday and got my ducks in a row. I got the heel turned on the second gray sock and got the ribbing set up. This is that Crafter Square acrylic, and I did a video not too long ago comparing the Dollar Tree Premier Just Yarn and the Crafter Square acrylic, and I preferred the Just Yarn. I have found more slubs, more weird unspun spots in this Crafter Square acrylic. I'm not a fan. I don't see myself buying this again to knit socks or a shawl or a bag or whatever. I might buy it if I was doing like a little stuffed animal and needed a particular color. We all know I don't learn from my mistakes and I will buy it again, but I'm going to say I wouldn't. And then I found, this is Just Yarn Tweed. It's another dollar store yarn. And I started a shawl. And yes, that's the right side showing. So I did the setup rows and got my cable established. And now it's just doing increases out this side and continuing the cable up. It's not going to be a huge shawl. I've got 400 yards of the yarn, but the stuff is so nice and squishy. One of the skeins had been glued to the cardboard box it came to the store in, so I had to rewind it and cut out a few rough spots, but I actually didn't lose much yarn at all. They only had 4 skeins of this color when I bought it, so this was my choice. I've reskeined 3 balls of it just because I got curious, and there are no knots in this. There are no slubs. There are no unspun bits. I totally should have noticed the piece of paper glued to the outside of the skein. I could have avoided that if I had been paying better attention. But you know, sometimes you get distracted by the pretty yarn. That is the shawl I am knitting. It is, what is it called? The January Morning Shawl. And it is from Knit Shawls and Wraps in 1 week. So really, depending on how the next couple of weeks pan out, I could finish the shawl and this second... Oh, I didn't show you the sock. I did the toe of my second sock. I apologize. I have a cut on my tongue and this is making my lisp really bad this week. I don't know if it bugs you. It bugs me. I got the toe cast on and all the increases done so I can just pick this up and knit. I may have time to knit. I may not. I may have time to stitch. I may not. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. My ducks are in a row. As in a row as my ducks are ever going to be. And I got bees in my hive. When I was recording the book review video that'll be the next one up, probably the next one uploaded after this, I had a text message come across on the front of my phone from my oldest son, who was over at his sister's house, and said there were bees swarming in Alex's yard. So I called and found out what was going on. The bees were actively swarming in the air. They had not settled yet. I told him the minute they settle down and form their mass, call me. If there's someplace I can reach them, I will bring over the bee suit and see if I can get them into a bee box. Then texted my husband at work to find out what he wanted me to get put together and how he wanted me to go about it. In theory, I am capable of putting on a bee suit and going over and putting bees in a box. I've done it before. We haven't had active hives for a couple of years, and my husband told me go out to the bee boxes and take them apart and see what the best thing I could put together was. I pulled the lid off the first box. There are no bees in it. I wasn't worried about bees. I wasn't at all considering the possibility that there might be a snake in there. I don't know what he was doing in the bee box. He saw me, he hissed at me, he slithered down between the frames, and I went into the house and got my youngest son and told him he was in charge of disassembling and seeing how the bee boxes looked, which is fine because my boys like snakes more than I do. And he caught the snake and we all made friends, and he let the snake go and the cat tried to eat the snake, and it was just that kind of afternoon. Snake is now very far away from the cat. Everybody's fine. Got everything pulled together, and the bees at Alex's house had not settled. She thinks they went into a neighbor's yard but doesn't know which neighbor. And it really didn't matter because my husband pulled into the driveway, and as soon as he got out of the truck, the neighbor was yelling for him. because there was a swarm of bees in his yard and he wanted to know if we would come and get them. If you see a mass of bees like this in your yard, they are just hanging out while the scouts look for a new spot for the main hive to relocate to. They're usually not aggressive, and you can either leave them alone and they'll go away, or you can call a local beekeeper and they will come get them for you. This has got to have been the best situation possible for capturing a swarm. They were right off the ground. Usually when we do this, it involves ladders and me in the bee suit under the ladder holding it while my husband tries to get the bees into a box that's down on the ground with me, and it works, but it's scary. This was just easy and convenient, and I was standing about 10 feet back from him in a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops. Nobody got stung. The bees, when they're swarming, they have eaten a lot of honey from their hive. They're not defending anything, except for maybe the queen who's in the center of that mass. I mean, I don't particularly want to be shaking the branch like that, but he put him in the box. He waited for him to settle. He walked the box back across the street to our house. It was extremely uneventful. And here is the bees the next morning. They are in their hive with their feeder, and you can see that they are just happily coming and going, and hopefully they are going to stay put. Fingers crossed. I'm kind of feeling like we were meant to have a new hive full of bees. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I am going to go stitch some more on the seagrass of beach babies so that I can justify starting that third little girl.